The boxer puncher, the complete fighter. The boxer puncher is boxing's Swiss Army knife. These fighters can box when they need to and bang when they want to. They're not specialists, they're generalists who've mastered every range of combat. Think Sugar Ray Robinson, who could outbox you for 12 rounds or knock you cold in the first. Or Oscar De La Hoya, who'd pepper you with jabs all night, then explode with a left hook that sent you to the canvas. What makes boxer punchers dangerous is their unpredictability. You can't game plan against them because they'll switch styles mid-fight. One round, they're Muhammad Ali, dancing and jabbing. The next round, they're Rocky Marciano, walking through your punches to land bombs. Canelo Alvarez is the perfect modern example. Against Gennady Golovkin, he boxed beautifully using footwork and counter-punching. Against Amir Khan, he stalked like a predator and ended the fight with one devastating right hand. The boxer puncher's greatest weapon isn't their jab or their power, it's their ability to adapt. They read their opponent like a book and become whatever they need to be to win. But here's where it gets interesting. This style requires the highest boxing IQ because you need to know when to box and when to punch. The outboxer, the master of distance. If boxing is chess, then outboxers are grandmasters. They control distance like a conductor controls an orchestra, keeping opponents exactly where they want them, just out of range. Muhammad Ali didn't just float like a butterfly, he controlled space like a physicist. Every step backward was calculated, every lean was measured, every jab was thrown from the perfect distance. Outboxers live by one simple rule: hit and don't get hit. They use their jab like a sword, keeping opponents at bay while scoring points. Floyd Mayweather Jr. turned this into an art form. He'd lean back just enough to make you miss by millimeters, then counter with surgical precision. His shoulder roll wasn't just defense, it was psychological warfare. Every missed punch frustrated his opponents, making them more reckless and easier to counter. The footwork is everything for an outboxer. They move laterally, creating angles that make them impossible to pin down. Pernell Whitaker was so elusive that opponents would swing at air while he stood right in front of them. He'd slip punches by inches, making world-class fighters look like amateurs. But outboxing isn't just about running away. The best outboxers know when to plant their feet and exchange. They pick their moments, usually when their opponent is off balance or overextended. That's when they strike with combinations that score points and create separation. The slugger, raw power personified. Sluggers don't box, they hunt. They're not interested in points or pretty combinations. They want to separate you from consciousness with one perfectly timed bomb. Rocky Marciano embodied this philosophy. He'd walk through your best shots, absorb punishment that would drop other fighters, and keep coming until he found your chin. What makes sluggers terrifying isn't just their power, it's their relentless pressure. They turn boxing matches into wars of attrition. Arturo Gatti was the perfect example. He'd take 3 shots to land one, but that one shot could change everything. His fights weren't technical masterpieces, they were gladiatorial battles where only the strongest survived. The slugger's game plan is beautifully simple. Get inside, throw bombs, repeat. They cut off the ring like predators, using their body to trap opponents against the ropes. George Foreman in his prime was like a human wrecking ball. He'd methodically break down opponents with clubbing shots, each punch designed to weaken their resolve. But here's what casual fans miss about great sluggers. They're not just wild brawlers. The best ones have underrated boxing skills. Marciano had sneaky good footwork. Foreman had a devastating jab. They used these skills to set up their power shots, making them even more dangerous. Modern sluggers like Deontay Wilder prove this style still works. You can outbox Wilder for 11 rounds, but if you make one mistake, one moment of carelessness, his right hand will find you. That's the slugger's greatest weapon, the ability to end fights with a single punch. The swarmer, relentless pressure. Swarmers fight like their life depends on it. They get inside, stay inside, and turn boxing matches into phone booth fights. Joe Frazier was the prototype, a compact ball of muscle and determination who'd walk through hell to land his left hook. He didn't care about your jab or your footwork. He cared about getting close enough to hurt you. The swarmer's strategy is psychological as much as physical. They want to break your will by making you fight their fight. Roberto Duran was a master of this. He'd get inside, lean on you, rough you up, and make every second feel like a lifetime. By the middle rounds, opponents were exhausted, not just physically, but mentally. What makes swarmers dangerous is their conditioning. They fight at a pace that would kill normal humans. Mickey Ward could throw combinations for 12 rounds without slowing down. His body shots were legendary, not because they were the hardest ever thrown, but because he threw them constantly, wearing down opponents like water-eroding stone. The swarmer's greatest weapon is their ability to neutralize reach advantages. Tall fighters rely on distance, but swarmers eliminate distance. They get inside where height doesn't matter and turn fights into battles of heart and determination. Mike Tyson in his prime was the ultimate swarmer-slugger hybrid. He'd bob and weave his way inside, then explode with combinations that ended fights. But swarmers need incredible defensive skills to be successful. They're walking into punches all night, so they better know how to slip, duck, and roll with shots. The best swarmers make it look easy, but they're actually displaying some of the most advanced defensive techniques in boxing. The counterpuncher, the chess master. Counterpunchers are boxing's ultimate strategists. They don't initiate, they respond. They let their opponents make the first move, then punish them for it. Juan Manuel Marquez was the master of this art. He'd study his opponents like a scientist, learning their patterns, their tells, their habits. Then, when the moment was perfect, he'd strike with devastating precision. The counterpuncher's greatest weapon is patience. While other fighters are looking to impose their will, counterpunchers are content to wait. They know that every aggressive fighter will eventually make a mistake, and when they do, they'll be there to capitalize. Floyd Mayweather Jr. built his entire career on this philosophy. He'd make you miss, then make you pay. What separates great counterpunchers from good ones is their ability to set traps. They don't just react, they manipulate. They'll show you an opening, let you commit to attacking it, then counter when you're most vulnerable. Bernard Hopkins was a master manipulator. He'd lean forward slightly, inviting you to throw an uppercut, then step back and counter with a right hand. Counterpunching requires incredible timing and distance judgment. You're essentially playing with fire, letting opponents get close enough to hurt you so you can hurt them worse. Marquez's knockout of Manny Pacquiao is the perfect example. He timed Pacquiao's aggressive charge perfectly, stepping into a right hand that ended the fight instantly. The mental game is huge for counterpunchers. They need to stay calm under pressure, resist the urge to engage, and trust their skills. It's not the most exciting style for casual fans, but it's devastatingly effective against aggressive fighters. Quick pause. If you're enjoying this breakdown of boxing's deadliest styles, smash that like button. It really helps us create more content like this. Now let's dive into one of the most beautiful styles in all of boxing, the boxer. Pure artistry. The pure boxer is boxing's artist. They don't rely on power or pressure. They rely on skill, technique, and boxing IQ. These fighters turn the sweet science into actual science, using footwork, timing, and precision to dominate opponents. Willie Pep was the prototype. He once won a round without throwing a single punch, using only movement and defensive skills to frustrate his opponent. Pure boxers live by fundamentals. Their jab is a piston, thrown thousands of times until it becomes automatic. Their footwork is balletic, allowing them to create angles and maintain distance. Larry Holmes had one of the greatest jabs in boxing history, not because it was the hardest, but because it was the most consistent. He'd pump that jab all night, setting up everything else in his arsenal. What makes pure boxers special is their ability to make difficult things look easy. They slip punches by millimeters, counter with perfect timing, and control the pace of fights through superior ring generalship. Pernell Whitaker was so skilled that he'd make world champions look like amateurs. His defense was so good that opponents would get frustrated and make mistakes, which he'd capitalize on immediately. The pure boxer's greatest strength is also their biggest weakness. They rely on skill over power. Against heavy hitters, they need to be perfect for 12 rounds. One mistake, one moment of carelessness, and they can be hurt badly. But when they're on their game, they're virtually untouchable. Modern pure boxers like Vasyl Lomachenko show how effective this style can be. His footwork creates angles that shouldn't exist, his hand speed is otherworldly, and his ring IQ is off the charts. He doesn't just outbox opponents, he outthinks them. The pressure fighter, controlled aggression. Pressure fighters are different from swarmers in one crucial way. They combine aggression with technique. While swarmers rely on volume and heart, pressure fighters use skill to break down opponents systematically. Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. was the master of this style. He'd walk you down with perfect technique, cutting off the ring like a surgeon, never wasting energy or taking unnecessary risks. The pressure fighter's game is about controlled violence. They move forward constantly, but every step is calculated. They throw punches in combinations, but every shot has a purpose. Gennady Golovkin is a perfect modern example. His pressure looks relentless, but it's actually incredibly technical. He uses his jab to close distance, his footwork to cut off angles, and his power to discourage opponents from fighting back. What makes pressure fighters dangerous is their ability to break opponents mentally. They make you feel like you're drowning in deep water. Every time you try to create space, they're right there. Every time you try to rest, they're throwing punches. Miguel Cotto in his prime was like a beautiful nightmare. Technically perfect, but absolutely relentless. The key to pressure fighting is conditioning and technique. You need the cardio to maintain pressure for 12 rounds and the skills to avoid taking too much damage while applying it. The best pressure fighters make it look effortless, but they're actually displaying some of the most advanced boxing skills in the sport. Pressure fighters also need incredible chin and heart. They're going to get hit, that's part of the style, but they need to be able to take shots and keep coming. That's what separates the great ones from the good ones. The southpaw, the left-handed advantage. Southpaws don't just fight differently, they see the game differently. Everything is reversed, creating angles and opportunities that orthodox fighters struggle to handle. Marvin Hagler was the perfect southpaw, using his stance to create devastating angles for his left hand, while making it difficult for opponents to land clean shots. The southpaw advantage is real and measurable. Most fighters spend their careers training against orthodox opponents, so when they face a southpaw, everything feels awkward and unfamiliar. The angles are different, the timing is off, and the power shots come from unexpected directions. Manny Pacquiao built his entire career on this advantage, using his southpaw stance to create angles that allowed his left hand to land with devastating effect. What makes southpaws particularly dangerous is their ability to land the left hand over the orthodox fighter's jab. While the orthodox fighter is extending their left jab, the southpaw can step to their right and land a left cross over the top. This is exactly how Pacquiao knocked out Ricky Hatton, a perfectly timed left hand that Hatton never saw coming. The footwork is crucial for southpaws. They need to control the outside angle, keeping their left foot outside their opponent's right foot. This creates the perfect position to land the left hand while making it difficult for the orthodox fighter to land their right hand. Pernell Whitaker was a master of this, using his southpaw stance and incredible footwork to frustrate orthodox fighters for his entire career. But being a southpaw isn't automatically an advantage. The best orthodox fighters know how to neutralize southpaws by controlling distance, using their jab effectively and not falling into the southpaw's trap. The key is experience and preparation. The hybrid, evolution in action. Modern boxing has produced fighters who don't fit into traditional categories. These hybrids combine elements from multiple styles, creating unique approaches that are harder to prepare for and counter. Canelo Alvarez is the perfect example. He can box when he needs to, pressure when he wants to, and counterpunch when the opportunity presents itself. What makes hybrids dangerous is their unpredictability. You can't game plan against them because they'll switch styles mid-fight based on what's working. Terence Crawford is another perfect example. Against Jeff Horn, he was a pure boxer, using movement and precision. Against Amir Khan, he was a counterpuncher, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Against Jose Benavidez Jr., he was a pressure fighter, walking him down and breaking him apart. The evolution toward hybrid fighting makes sense. Modern fighters have access to better training, better coaching, and more diverse sparring partners. They're not limited to one style because they've been exposed to all styles from an early age. Vasily Lomachenko is perhaps the most complete hybrid ever. He can box, pressure, counterpunch, and switch hit all in the same round. But being a hybrid requires incredible boxing IQ. You need to know not just how to execute different styles, but when to use them. The best hybrids read their opponents like books and become whatever they need to be to win. It's the ultimate expression of of boxing as both art and science. The future of boxing belongs to hybrids. Fighters who can adapt, evolve, and surprise their opponents will always have an advantage over one-dimensional specialists. The defensive specialist, the untouchable. Some fighters are so defensively gifted that hitting them clean becomes nearly impossible. These defensive specialists turn boxing into a game of keep away, frustrating opponents while scoring just enough to win rounds. Floyd Mayweather Jr. was the ultimate defensive specialist, using the shoulder roll, precise footwork, and perfect timing to make world-class fighters look ordinary. The shoulder roll is the defensive specialist's signature technique. By keeping the right shoulder high and the left hand low, they can deflect punches while staying in position to counter. James Toney was a master of this technique, using it to slip punches by millimeters while landing sharp counters. The shoulder roll isn't just defense, it's a complete fighting system. What makes defensive specialists frustrating to fight is their ability to make you miss while making it look effortless. They don't just avoid punches, they make you feel foolish for throwing them. Pernell Whitaker would slip combinations while barely moving his feet, making opponents swing at air while he stood right in front of them. The mental aspect is huge for defensive specialists. They need to stay patient, resist the urge to engage, and trust their defensive skills even when behind on the scorecards. It's not the most exciting style for casual fans, but it's incredibly effective and requires tremendous skill to execute properly. Defensive specialists also need enough offense to win rounds. Pure defense won't win fights. You need to score points while avoiding damage. The best defensive fighters know when to open up and when to shut down, creating a perfect balance between safety and aggression. The power puncher, one shot, one kill. Power punchers live in a world where one mistake from their opponent can end everything. They don't need to win every round, they just need one perfect moment. Deontay Wilder embodies this philosophy perfectly. You can outbox him for 11 rounds, but if you make one mistake, his right hand will find you and the fight is over. What makes power punchers dangerous isn't just their ability to knock people out, it's the psychological effect they have on opponents. Every fighter who steps in with a true power puncher knows they're one punch away from disaster. This changes how they fight, making them more cautious, more defensive, and less willing to take risks. The setup is everything for power punchers. They need to create opportunities for their big shots, whether through feints, combinations, or simply waiting for their opponent to make a mistake. Julian Jackson was one of the most feared power punchers ever, not because he threw wild haymakers, but because he could land his right hand in the middle of exchanges when opponents least expected it. Power punchers also need to be patient. They can't force their big shots. They need to wait for the right moment. Ernie Shavers was one of the hardest punchers in heavyweight history, but his best knockouts came when he was patient, setting up his power shots with jabs and body work before unleashing devastating combinations. The conditioning aspect is crucial for power punchers. If they don't get the early knockout, they need to be able to maintain their power deep into fights. This is where many power punchers fail. They load up on every shot early, gas out, and become sitting ducks in the later rounds. The great ones like George Foreman learned to pace themselves, maintaining knockout power even in the championship rounds. The technician, precision over power. Technicians are boxing's perfectionists. Every punch is thrown with purpose. Every movement has meaning, and every strategy is executed with surgical precision. Andre Ward was the ultimate technician. He didn't have devastating knockout power, but his technical skills were so advanced that he could break down any opponent systematically. What separates technicians from other fighters is their attention to detail. They study tape religiously, identify weaknesses, and exploit them methodically. Bernard Hopkins was a master technician who got better with age because his technical knowledge continued to grow. He'd find one small flaw in your game and spend 12 rounds exploiting it until you broke. The jab is the technician's most important weapon. It's not just a scoring punch, it's a range finder, a rhythm disruptor, and a setup for everything else. Larry Holmes built his entire career around a technically perfect jab that he could throw from any angle at any time with devastating accuracy. Technicians also excel at making adjustments mid-fight. They're constantly analyzing what's working and what isn't, adapting their strategy round by round. This is why many technicians get stronger as fights progress. They're downloading information and using it to their advantage. The footwork of a true technician is poetry in motion. Every step serves a purpose. whether it's creating an angle, maintaining distance, or setting up a combination. They waste no energy and make no unnecessary movements. The brawler, heart over technique. Brawlers don't win with perfect technique, they win with pure heart and determination. These fighters turn boxing matches into wars, willing to take punishment to dish out punishment. Arturo Gatti was the king of brawlers, a fighter who could be hurt, dropped, and bloodied, but would never quit fighting. What makes brawlers special isn't their technical skills. It's their ability to dig deep when things get tough. They have a different relationship with pain and adversity. Where other fighters might wilt under pressure, brawlers thrive. They turn boxing matches into tests of will, and they're usually willing to go further than their opponents. The conditioning of a true brawler is otherworldly. They fight at a pace that would kill normal humans, throwing punches in bunches for 12 rounds without slowing down. Mickey Ward's body shots were legendary, not because they were the hardest ever thrown, but because he threw them constantly, round after round, until opponents couldn't take anymore. Brawlers also have underrated boxing skills. The best ones aren't just wild sluggers, they know how to cut off the ring, how to work the body, and how to break opponents down systematically. Brawlers also have underrated boxing skills. The best ones aren't just wild sluggers, they know how to cut off the ring, how to work the body, and how to break opponents down systematically. They use their aggression as a weapon, but it's controlled aggression backed by solid fundamentals. The mental toughness of brawlers is what sets them apart. They're willing to go to places other fighters won't go, to endure punishment that would break other men. This isn't stupidity, it's a different kind of courage that allows them to find ways to win even when they're outgunned technically. The spoiler, the great equalizer. Some fighters specialize in ruining other fighters' nights. These spoilers don't necessarily win in spectacular fashion, but they make it impossible for their opponents to look good. They're awkward, difficult to prepare for, and capable of turning any fight into an ugly, grinding affair. Chris Algieri was a perfect spoiler. Tall, awkward, with unusual timing that made him difficult to figure out. He didn't have devastating power or blazing speed, but he could make elite fighters look ordinary by disrupting their rhythm and forcing them to fight his fight. What makes spoilers effective is their ability to neutralize their opponent's strengths. Against a boxer, they'll pressure and make it ugly. Against a slugger, they'll move and make them miss. Against a pressure fighter, they'll clinch and disrupt the flow. They're chameleons who adapt their spoiling tactics to whatever style they're facing. The mental game is huge for spoilers. They need to stay focused and disciplined even when fights get ugly and crowds get restless. They're not trying to win fans, they're trying to win fights, and they'll do whatever it takes within the rules to get their hand raised. Spoilers often have longer careers than more exciting fighters because they take less damage and rely on boxing IQ rather than physical attributes. They're the ultimate professionals doing whatever job needs to be done to win. The switch hitter, double trouble. Switch hitters are boxing's ultimate wildcards. They can fight orthodox or southpaw, creating angles and opportunities that single-stance fighters can't match. Terence Crawford is the modern master of this art, seamlessly switching stances mid-combination to create devastating angles. What makes switch hitting so effective is the confusion it creates. Just when opponents think they've figured out the timing and angles, everything changes. Marvin Hagler used this to perfection, switching stances to create new angles for his power shots while keeping opponents guessing. The technical skill required to be an effective switch hitter is enormous. You need to be comfortable throwing power shots from both stances, defending effectively from both positions, and transitioning smoothly between them. Most fighters struggle to master one stance. Switch hitters need to master two. The strategic advantages are obvious. Against an orthodox fighter, you can switch to southpaw to create the awkward southpaw-orthodox matchup. Against a southpaw, you can go orthodox to neutralize their natural advantages. You're essentially carrying two different fighting styles in one body. But switch hitting isn't just about stance changes, it's about creating opportunities. The best switch hitters use stance changes to set up specific punches or to escape from bad positions. Crawford's switch from orthodox to southpaw while throwing a left hook is one of the most beautiful techniques in modern boxing. The veteran, experience over everything. Some fighters get better with age, using experience and ring IQ to overcome physical decline. These veterans understand that boxing isn't just about physical attributes, it's about knowing when to use them. Bernard Hopkins was the ultimate veteran, winning world titles well into his 40s by outthinking younger, stronger opponents. What makes veterans dangerous is their ability to see things other fighters miss. They've been in every situation, faced every style, and learned from every mistake. They know how to pace themselves, when to take risks, and how to steal rounds when they're not at their best physically. The mental game becomes everything for veterans. They can't rely on speed or power anymore, so they rely on guile, experience, and superior ring IQ. They know how to frustrate younger fighters, how to make them uncomfortable, and how to capitalize on their mistakes. Veterans also understand the importance of conditioning and preparation. They know their bodies better than anyone and tailor their training to maximize their remaining strengths while minimizing their weaknesses. They're students of the game who never stop learning. The best veterans also know when to hang up the gloves. They understand that there's a difference between being competitive and being great, and they're smart enough to walk away while they can still walk away on their own terms. So there you have it, every major boxing style broken down and explained. From the pure artistry of the boxer to the raw violence of the slugger, each style represents a different philosophy about how to win fights. The beauty of boxing is that there's no single path to victory. You can win with speed, power, technique, heart, or intelligence. You can be Muhammad Ali dancing around the ring, or Mike Tyson destroying everything in his path. The greatest fighters in history weren't just masters of one style. They understood all styles and could adapt when necessary. They knew when to box and when to brawl, when to pressure and when to counter, when to be patient and when to take risks. What's your favorite boxing style? Are you drawn to the technical mastery of the pure boxer, the explosive power of the slugger, or the relentless pressure of the swarmer? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one and love hearing from fellow boxing fans. If this breakdown helped you understand the sweet science a little better, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into combat sports. We've got videos breaking down MMA styles, legendary rivalries, and the greatest fighters of all time. Until next time, keep your hands up and your chin down.